Usually people do not really care about the website, the F5 website, but I always recommend to visit the websites for the vendor, at least for that vendor for which you are going to take the training, right? So, for example, this time you are going for F5 training. So I would highly recommend you to go through the F5 website, right? So you should be aware that how you can utilize that website like this, right? So this is the F5 website. So you can see that a couple of explore flexible solutions that help. I mean, by looking at their website or by visiting their website, at least you can get to know that what is new, right? What F5 is focusing on now, right? So you can at least take a look at here, right? NCINX is there. A lot of things are there, like F5 labs are there, right? Dev Central, right? Support account management and partner resources, my F5 and all that. So my F5 is something like that, is something like smart account in Cisco. So I mean, we should be aware. Then we can start a free trial from here. We can also connect with the F5. Also, it can help you to find your partner as well in case if you are trying to purchase something from F5, because directly you can't engage F5. You just have to go through the partners. I mean, the business model is quite similar as Cisco. Now, there are multiple tabs. You should be aware to utilize, or you should be knowing that what information is there under which tab. So let's talk about the training purposes. I mean, from a training perspective. So for that, you go to resources, and then you go to. I mean, now you get multiple options. Like you get the documentation. So if you are looking to look at the documentation under resources, you look at the documentation. But before we proceed with the documentation, I would like to go for the education. So under education, now you can see here professional certifications, training, right? So under professional certification, it would give you a list of the certification that you can obtain within F5. So this chart is pretty much self-explanatory, right? But this chart displays that which all certifications are offered by F5 as a vendor. So it has got so many different exams that you may want to take on. Your journey would get started with 101 exam. And if you clear that up, if you clear that exam, then you can get started with certified administrator, which is CA exam, 201 exam. And then thereafter only you can attempt your 301A, 301B, or any one of these exams. Now, let me tell you one more thing here. And that is that if I mean, if you clear this 101 exam and 201, then you become the certified administrator. It's quite equals to CCNA, right? In Cisco, you can simply compare this certification with Cisco. Now, you need to clear both exams, 101 and 201 both. That's compulsory. Then you have got some certifications or some exams for certified technical specialist, CTS, which you can compare with CCNP and CCNA, right? So if somebody is aware that what CCNP certification is, you can simply compare it with that. Now, here they have got the exams based on the technology. So for LTM, they have got 301A, they have 1A and 301B. So they have got two separate exams for Big IP LTM. One is for one is to architect, deploy, and mainly for deployment, and the second exam is all about the troubleshooting. So for LDM, they have got like two separate exams, 301A and 301B. For DNS, they have got just one exam, and that is 302. And for ASM, which is their web proxy, right? So that's 303. And then they have got the APM, right? Access Policy Manager. So for that, they have got 304 exam. And now once you cover all these exams, right, then you become F5 CTS. It's a certified technical specialist, right? Once you cover all these exams, and then you can also attempt your CSE exam. Now this CSE, certified solution expert, is equal to like CCIE in Cisco, right? So you can simply compare this exam with that. And there are many, I mean, there are few people who have obtained this certification, like certified solution expert, CSE, right? So you can go for 401 or maybe 402, right? Now, remember that all these exams have got some dependencies on each other, right? So for example, if I select here 201, now for 201, the prerequisite would be 101. That's mandatory. Sorry. Now, if you want to take exam 301A or 301B, it is mandatory for you to take the 201 exam, which means 101 is already there, right? Because you could take 201 only if you have taken 101, right? So that's the thing. Then if you are trying to take the DNS exam, you have same dependency. Now let's just assume that you wanted to take on the 401, which is security, right? Certified solution expert for security. So for this exam, you have got dependency over 301A, 301B, 303, 304. 302 is not necessary for security. However, if you are going for cloud, then 301A, 301B, and 302. These both exams are mandatory before you take your 402 exam. So once you cover 402, then you become by taking these exams, you will become CSE, Certified Solution Expert, right? So you can get all this information over here. In fact, you can also get the topics, the kind of like list of the topics that you should cover before you take the exams, before you take 101 exam or 201 exam, whatever, right? So for example, if you wanted to take on the 201 exam, right? So you can look at the study material for 201, just click there, and then it will give you the list of the topics that you should cover, right? Before taking this exam. So it should be visible to us, right? So 201, right? EMOS administration. So they have given you some sort of basic information over here, but if you go up, right, you can also download the blueprint, and that would really help you out. It would really help you to understand that which all topics you need to cover before taking this exam. So section 1, troubleshooting basic performance issues. And then section 3 is about administrator system configuration, right? Administrator system configuration, right? So you can see that how we can make the system configuration. So here basically we are more talking about the device specific things, not a module specific, right? So mainly like most of the time during this training or during for 201, right, especially we focus more on the big IP as a box, right, as a device, not its different modules that it supports, like LTM. There are some topics from LTM as well, but not everything.
And Saurabh, quick question. So with whatever we are going to cover through this course, can we do 301 A and B and 302 also? Are we, I mean, will we be qualified to take 302?
See, I will be covering the topics that are
Oh, you'll be.
that are covered in the training, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the list of the topics that I have already shared. So I'm going to cover that whole list of the topics. There is no question about that. It's just that before taking 301B exam, right? I would highly suggest to have some hands-on experience, right? So that's what you mentioned, that you do not have any problems from the operations point of view,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
probably I would say yes, you would be okay for taking your 301B exam as well. That's the only
Okay.
concern that I have most of the time, because
So the
it's
curriculum
easier.
matches. The list of topics matches with 301, yeah, until 301, 302, right?
Not 100%. Why? Because if I am covering like everything from each module here, right, as per
Mm.
this blueprint, right, then
Mm.
this training is going to take like around 5 to 6 months then, right?
Oh, okay.
You get my point. So
Mhm.
like if I'm covering, let's say first I'm covering 101, and then let's say I get started with 201, right, and
Mhm.
then 301A and then 301B. So if we are covering that independently, it will take 5 to 6 months to get this completed, and that is why F5 provided that list of topics to cover the F5 LTM training, right? So that
Hmm.
the training that we are going through, or we will be taking on, is more
Hmm.
specific to the LTM, right? Although we will be trying to cover as much as possible from 101 perspective as well as 201 perspective. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but the idea of us is also to take certification probably by the end of this course. So if there are any topics, so we should be ready. If we are at least 80% ready, that 20% we'll push it ourselves. But we need to know. You need to guide us there. Like which topics are still missed out from the certification point of view, and then where can we find the material and stuff like that.
Okay, all right. So that's about this, right? So section 3, administer system configuration. So it's all about the system configuration, whether it is about the identification and generating reports for the current device status, applying procedural concept required to manage the state of the high availability pair, right? How we can really configure the HA, high availability and all that, the self IPs. So all that information is there, right? Where you can find the log messages, whether it's for LTM or, you know, the security logs or maybe audit logs, right? So we'll see that. I mean, all that information is there, right? So it's pretty much self-explanatory that which all topics you will be covering. Use support resources, and then at top it was like manage existing application delivery services, right? So that's 201, right? And uh, I mean, there is this positive side with F5 exams is, one, the cost is lower, right, as compared to other vendors, especially Cisco. Second, um, the exam is for 90 minutes, right? And the passing score would be uh, in the range of between, I mean, minimum 245, right? From the range of 100 to 350, right? So 245, you should at least get 245, right, out of 350. It would have, like, exam would have 80 questions, right? So there are some retake policies as well, in case if somebody was not able to make it in very first attempt, right? So that's that. So that way you can download the blueprint for any exam, right? And that way it would give you a complete idea that which all topics you should take or you should cover before taking your exam, right? Now, upon completing this training, what I expect from candidates is to take on the 101 exam, to take on 201 exam, 301A at least. I'm not talking about the B, because most of the time I get those people on the training who are not really working on the F5 technology, but like you guys already working on this technology. And as you mentioned, you do not have any issues uh, with the operations side. Then you should be knowing that how you are maintaining and troubleshooting, right? So if you are already having some hands-on experience onto big IP F5 technology, LTM technology especially, then you can also take this 301B exam post completing this training, right, sir?
Yeah.
So that's
Have
about.
any recommended books to read on these things? Because
Uh,
I didn't find much books on F5. Like CCNA, we have some Cisco Press, right?
we have so many different books for the F5 as well, right? I can share those details. But we have also downloaded couple of like, we will also upload, basically, not download. You can watch. I mean, it's not video; it's a PDF file that we will be uploading to your portal alongside the recorded sessions, right? So we are doing the recording as of now. So these recorded sessions will be uploaded to the portal, but along with these videos, you would see that some PDF file are also uploaded on that portal. So you can go and search for those PDF files, and it should contain the book for 101, 201, right? And also I can suggest some external books apart from that, right? So, but for now, you would get the sufficient data to continue your training.
Okay.
Yeah, on this portal from where you have joined this meeting today, from that Trainonic portal, from that application, you should see all the PDF files which have been uploaded to your portal, right? Along with the PPTs and all. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So now, since I had a discussion around the certification levels and then, all that kind of stuff. Now, one more thing, or there are a couple of more things that I would like you to go through the website frequently as much as possible, right? So first of all, first of all, it would be like you go to F5 solutions, right? And then you can see, in fact, if you go to product, right? So if you go to products, right, this tab, products tab, and then look at the F5 big IP, right? Under F5 big IP, you get so many different options here, like APM and all, DNS, AFM. So basically, point is that you get a box called big IP, right? That's a hardware device. Even you can deploy it in virtual edition, and also it's supported in cloud as well. Like if you want to deploy the big IP in cloud, you can do that, right? So you have got a virtual edition of big IP. You also get the hardware devices. Now, big IP is a device, right? And it uses an operating system called TMOS, Traffic Management Operating System, right? So it's a box. If it is a hardware device, it can also be virtual edition. It can also be cloud, right? But then on top of it, right, you install the module, right? And that defines the role of this big IP in your infrastructure, right? So whichever module you activate on this big IP, it will act accordingly. Like for example, if you install, let's say AFM module, right? If you activate the AFM module, like if you install the license of AFM and you activate that module on your big IP, then it will work as a firewall, right? Or maybe if you activate the license for APM, then it will act as an APM, right? Access Policy Manager, right? Or maybe WAF, right? Or maybe CCNAT device, SSL orchestrator, right? Or maybe if you are looking for DNS, then you can make it DNS. If you're looking for LTM, you can make it LTM, right? My point is that you get a single device, right? Which is called big IP. But then you can utilize this big IP for multiple purposes. Like in Cisco, what happens is that you have got a different router and different firewalls. I mean, different platform for the routers and different platforms for the routers. But in big IP, you can see that you have got a common platform, which is big IP, and a single operating system. But then you have got an opportunity, you have got an option to use that platform for multiple purposes. The platform is not going to get changed if you change your purpose. Like for example, if you are looking to use your big IP as a AFM firewall module, fine, you go ahead and use it as a firewall. You should have a valid license, right? And then you should activate that. You should provision that module. That's it. You are good to go, right? So that's kind of an advantage that you get with the F5 technology, right? And that's why I always say that before taking your LTM training, it's better to understand the big IP first, right? So first understand the big IP, that how big IP works, how you can administer your big IP. Once you know the administration of the big IP, thereafter you can take the modules independently, like what is LTM and what is GTM or whatever, right? AFM, WAF, like that.
Saurabh, I just want to check how many module we can activate at means at in one server in one
It's not
appliance.
it's not about that how many we can activate. There are a couple of things that we need to consider, right? First,
Mm-hmm.
ideally, like let me explain this in a different way from a recommendation perspective. Ideally, you can enable multiple modules on a single box. You can activate like 3 4 5 modules, right? But basically there are a couple of recommendations, like let's talk about the DNS should be standalone. On a single big IP, you should enable DNS as a standalone module. You should not enable any other module along with DNS. That's for the DNS, right? Now, when you talk about the AFM, right? The AFM cannot work without LTM. So along with AFM, it is mandatory to enable the LTM module now. You get my point? Same goes with WAF. WAF, LTM is mandatory. I mean, if you are activating the WAF module, you can't use it if you do not have the LTM module, right? So in some cases, you would see that a single big IP is having AFM, WAF, and LTM, all three modules activated at same time, like in parallel. Why? Your LTM is needed for ASM to work. I mean, for WAF to work, right? Web application firewall to work. You need your LTM. Then similarly, it goes with firewall module. Even for firewall to work, it has to has a LTM module, because the firewall policy, once you apply, I mean, once you create that policy, it has to be applied on your virtual server, right? Same goes with ASM. When you create a policy, it has to apply it on your virtual server. So if that is the case, which means that LTM module has to be enabled over there, right? So in most cases, you would see that you're using the combination of WAF and LTM. But in case if somebody purchased the license for AFM, then they can also get the firewall module enabled on the same box. You get my point? So,
Okay.
I mean, there are few recommendations and the requirement as well, and based on which you take the decision whether, how things are going to work for you. So
Okay.
that's
Thank
that.
you.
But yes, to answer your question, technically you can enable multiple modules on a single box, but you should be doing that based on requirement. Okay. So these are the different, I would say, modules that you could enable on your big IP. So there are some modules related to security, like which are responsible to enhance your security in your infrastructure, right? Especially application security. For that, you have got the APM module, which is Access Policy Manager, and then advanced firewall module or firewall manager, basically, right? So if you talk about the AFM, it is your firewall, right? And then you have got the WAF. Earlier, it used to be called as ASM, right? Now it is WAF, but earlier we used to call it ASM, right? So these all products are for security in your left side, whether it is a SSL orchestrator, the dedicated SSL orchestrator, which is responsible for encryption and decryption of the traffic, right? So that's that. Then we have got the application delivery related topics as well, right? So for application delivery, you have got the DNS, you have got the LTM, right? And then you have got the PEM, the policy enforcement manager, right? So you have got big IQ centralized management, right? So now let me tell you, along with big IP, you also get a product or platform called big IQ, right? So there are two things, big IQ and big IP. So big IP is a platform which you would be leveraging to deploy your modules, but big IQ is that platform which you will be utilizing to manage your big IPs for a centralized management. Like if you do not have the big IQ, which means that you are going to manage all of your big IPs individually, and that's what we do, right? I mean, you are managing all the big IPs individually in most cases. For most of the customers, it's the same story, right? But now in recent time, F5 has been pushing customers to go for the big IQ, especially for the centralized management, so that if there is a if there is a requirement of upgrading the big IP, so you can do it from a big IQ. You need to push the configuration, then you do not need to log in onto big IPs locally. You can simply push that configuration by creating template onto big IQ. So that way you can make the changes onto hundreds of devices in a single shot, right? So that kind of advantage you get with the big IQ, right?
So it's just a management platform like a Panorama and
Exactly,
Palo Alto, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Hmm. Okay. So as I told you that even you have got the virtual edition, big IP virtual edition now. They have also came up with big IP next. I have to take care. I mean, I'll have to look into that. But that has been, launched by F5 maybe during past 1 month, right? So 1 month or maybe maximum 2 months, right? Not before that. So I'll have to take a look at the next big IP next, like what exactly this big IP next is, right? So, I mean, I can't really make any comment as of today on this big IP next, but yes, F5 just launched this big IP next thing during last month, or maybe last month, not before that, right? But at the end of the day, you are going to learn about the big IP, right? So now if I talk about the big IP systems, right? So as I told you that you get an option, right, to deploy the virtual edition, right? That's what you can deploy. And also you can deploy the cloud edition, right? In the cloud, like inside Azure and AWS. You would see that so many customers are deploying the virtual Velos chassis, right, is there. So instead of Vaprion, you can use Velos, but you should use chassis only at the end of service provider. Why? Because you have highly dependent over the load balancers, right? Especially in service provider network. So we can take risk. So the appliances are mainly for the enterprise network, not for the service provider kind of thing, or maybe, for the large data centers where you have a lot of dependency all the time, right? Like you need to make sure that your application is always available 24/7, and you have a huge load, right, for your application. And on top of that, if any one of the hardware fails, you still do not want your application to suffer, right? And that's where the chassis comes into the picture, right? And that's how the Viprion works, and the Velos will be working. So F5 has launched a new series for chassis as well. Like instead of Viprion, now you can go for the Velos one, right? So for Velos, again, you get the F5 OS installed on this chassis, and then on top of it, you can create kind of like capabilities, and then you can look at all these things. So there is a chassis called CX410. That's a Velos chassis, powerful next generation chassis system. And then you get this blade, right, which is BX110 blade. So you get only one chassis and one blade, right? You do not have multiple options. Like in case of the Viprion chassis, you get multiple options. We have got like multiple models for chassis itself. Like there is one chassis supports maximum up to four blades, and there is one another chassis which supports like 8 blades as well on Viprion one, right? On Viprion. But in Velos, you just have got this just one chassis, right? Now to read data sheet about it, right? So you can do one thing, right? So let's look at the architecture of this. So this is how it is going to be look like, right? The Velos one. And this is the blade that you can install within that chassis, right? I was talking about the maximum number of blades supported and all that, right? So it should be there, right? So here you have got the concept of the VCMP, right? Because I mean, similar to what you had before for Viprion chassis, right, sir?
Yeah.
All right, you can get the information, you can get the documentation for gathering all that type of information as well, right?
So the Velos is similar to
Viprion.
Viprion.
Yes.
Only thing is that it has the next level hardware, or kind of it supports any new features, or
Yeah,
just an
exactly. And it is also using the F5 OS, right? And so as kind of hypervisor, F5 came up with new operating system called F5 OS. And then on top of that, when you host a big IP, then you install the TMOS on top of that. So that's it from this point of view. Under products, we had a big IP systems. Under F5 systems, you get this R series appliances and then I series. I series is something that you can easily get. Probably even in your network, you are using the I series of appliances. There are many platforms for different customers, right? So 15,000 series is there, 11,000 mid to large enterprise, then 10,000, 7,000 for small to medium. Then you have got 4,000, 2,000 series of big IP, I series of appliances, right? So if you have got a small customer, then you can recommend them to use the big IP I2000 series of appliances. Make sense, sir?
Maybe a basic question. So all these I series boxes comes with FIOS.
No,
No, I series, R
no,
series, or all are come with same operating system,
no,
or we need
no,
to
no, no, no. All these I series of appliances would come with TMOS pre-installed on them.
TMOS. TMOS is LTM.
Not TMOS is
No,
not LTM.
Not
TMOS is an
LTM, the
operating
software
system of the big
operating system.
IP. Big IP, it's an operating system of the big IP, right? TMOS is not LTM. TMOS is everything actually, right?
Yeah.
You get a common operating system, you get a common hardware, and then on top of that, then you decide that whether you are going to activate LTM or GTM or ASM, APM, whatever. So that's that.
so for Viprian, everything we it come with TMOS. No,
F5OS.
FIO.
Yes,
It is different than
for
the
I
TMOS.
series. So basically, do you have any insight over that how HP servers or Dell server works? So on Dell server or HP server, when you purchase a server, you install a hypervisor on top of that. That could be a ESXi as well from VMware, right? And then over ESXi, you deploy the virtual machines, right? That can contain the Microsoft operating system, or maybe that could contain the Linux or whatever, right? In
Yeah,
similar way, when you talk about the chassis, right, or maybe R series of appliances, right, they come with F5OS, and F5OS is kind of like hypervisor. On top of that, then you deploy the big IP with TMOS.
Is there any other alternative than TMOS? Because we are using TMOS
No,
only.
no,
This one TMOS only, right?
there is just TMOS
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
big
Okay. Yeah.
IPs.
Yeah. Okay.
We do not have any other option available. So that's what you could get out of here, right? So you can get all that information right from here, right? And in fact, you can go to, you can go to product data sheet as well. So for example, if you're going for product data sheets, then look for the data sheets, right? So for hardware, or maybe, you know, for example, if you were looking for the data sheet in case of I series, then read that, right? And if you're looking for data sheet for maybe, let's say, for Velos, or maybe for Viprion, you can read that. So this is the data sheet. Now it would contain everything, whatever you need to know about that box, right? So look at this I series, right? All information, how much of how much of CPU cores, and then the memory and the storage, everything, right? Number of interfaces, number of 10 gig interfaces, number of 40 gig interfaces, number of PSUs, right? Everything is mentioned in this data sheet. Same it goes with Viprion data sheet, right? So you can see that different Viprion chassis, right? So you have got a chassis, and then you have got a blade, right? You have got 4800 chassis for 480, and then you have got like 2400 to 2200 series of chassis, right? So on, on this chassis, then you have slots available to install your plates. So you go ahead and install the plates. So, and also power supply, right? So it's all about the, like, if you want, right? So this is how it looks like, right? So this 4800, you can add like up to let me tell you, somewhere it should have that information.
8 blanks. It's
Yeah, come on.
in the weight category. There is 8 blanks are there. So I think we can install 8 modules.
8 blanks exactly. But the 8 blanks, 4 power supply, 1 fan tray, 3, probably, yes, you're right, but it has 4 actually. So basically, as long as I can remember it, the 4800, it had, I believe, 16 16 unit. You can install like 16 right? And then 7U, 7.
Oh, that's a rack size unit. It's a length of 16 units. It will be
True,
height in height. Yeah.
true. I mean, somewhere it should be mentioned that how many. I mean, as long as I can recall, the 4800 had 8 slots, and then 4480 had like 4 slots available.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes with 64-bit TMOS.
That's a software architecture for the operating system, which you are going to host on a guest, right? So you would be creating the guest.
12, 12 per blade. Yeah. It's very good.
Okay, so let's go ahead. So, I mean, all I wanted to let you know that you can also look at the data sheets, right? Whether it is the I series or R series or whatever, right? So even for R series, we have the data sheets available, right? So we should read that, like F5 R series hardware data sheet, right? So you can go through that, right? And then also you can go through the data sheets for the individual modules like AFM, or maybe web application firewall, or maybe APM, access policy manager, or maybe LTM, right? Or DNS. So we can also read their data sheets, right? So that is also possible. I mean, we can find all that document over here, right? I mean, that's why I'm just showing you that what all information is available on F5 website, right? Then you can also contact to the F5 support right from here. You can also look at the product documentation, right? And manage your F5 subscription. That would take you to the my.f5.com, like accounts.f5.com, my F5, and then you log in, and then that's where you would be able to see what all things you have subscribed, right? So just for an example, so once you log in to your my F5 account, right, this is how it will look like. Come on, it is asking to validate the account, right? So come on, the multi-factor authentication is mandatory now for accessing my F5 website. Just a moment, please. That's where you should see all the subscriptions that you have taken, my.f5.com, right? So subscriptions, open cases, you can go to cases directly, and then you can see all the open cases that you had, right? So you can also create a case, tag case. So you can put on whatever the questions you had, right? So you have everything here, right? And in fact, my products and plans, the subscriptions that you have got from F5. So that information will be available over here, right? So that's that. All right. So I hope that everyone got all the necessary information now, that what we can find on the F5 website, right? So all of you have got that information. The next thing would be to display you that which type of topology we are going to use during this training, right? So let me just connect. So let me log into the topology. So, okay, this is our lab. I have logged on to onto the lab. I will open up the topology now, which we are going to use throughout this training. We have F5 topology. Look at this. So this is the topology that you would have access to. So you are going to have access to the same topology as I am displaying here, right? So the same topology will be used throughout this training. So if you look at this topology, we have got a pair of the big IPs. So that way you can also set up the high availability, but not only high availability, also you can perform all other labs which are needed to complete this training, right? So like you want to deploy the applications, you want to perform load balancing, you want to perform SSL decryption, and so all that sort of thing, right, will be covered during this training, right? We can cover during this training. Any questions around the topology? So in this topology, if you look at, we have got the ISP, we have got the internet user and their application, the public application, right, that you can deploy on your backend servers, and then you will be accessing those applications by hitting your big IP.
Which model we are using?
It's a virtual edition.
Virtual edition. Okay.
Yes. As I mentioned this in the beginning of the training as well, that all we are going to use is virtual edition. We are not going to use any hardware.
Okay.
Even if we are taking the training from F5, because I have already gone through those trainings, right? That's how I understood this F5 technology. So even they are delivering the training over the virtual edition. So that's that. But then I can have a separate session just to speak about the appliances, right? Whether those are appliances or chassis, right? Like today, I gave you one short description about those, boxes. But then we can have one another session where we can talk about those boxes in more detail. In fact, I would try to see if I can have access to one of the appliances that I can display that, okay, this is how the appliance will look like. Although, if you look at the UI, user interface, right? So there will not be any differences, right? Especially for the big IP. I'm not talking about the F5 OS UI, because the F5 OS has got a different UI, because F5 OS is like kind of hypervisor, and on top of that you install your big IPs then. So that's how it works.
Okay.
All right. So this is it, and yeah, I mean that's what we are going to cover. And also I have explained you the list of the topics and everything that we will be covering during this training. Right.
We see the topology on at a large, I mean at a high level. You're going to explain this, or it's okay? I mean, we understood it. You have.
No, I mean it's pretty much simple, right? It's straightforward. Yeah. Anyone can understand this now.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
No, because if you look at this, right? So like big IPs, right?
Yeah. I see that the management is separated, and then the inside traffic is internal switch, and then the outside is WAN.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then
everything is almost self-explanatory, right?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, but the diagram itself is packed together, so we have to really see it. So yeah, it's fine. I understood the diagram.
But I'm going to anyway. I mean, I will be setting up the big IP from scratch, right? So if I'm setting up the big IPs from scratch, so I'll be explaining everything, where is what IP address, what IP subnet. Also, I'll be explaining that what is the configuration that I have done on DC router, what is the configuration I have done on ISP router, right? So don't worry. Even if you need it, I can share the configuration, running config of these devices like ISP, customer as DC router. That way you don't have to do anything on these routers. You just start working on the big IPs. That's it.
Yeah, sure. One question is that 11.1 is a floating IP towards the providers, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
But initially I'll not be using that, right? So
yeah, indeed.
I mean, floating IP cannot be used unless you configure the high availability, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Hi, sir. So you are not able to miss. It's the lab setup will not be done on our laptop. It will be done.
I think you need to reach out to your account manager for that purpose. They can set up the lab on your laptop, but the amount of the resources that it is going to consume, you should have that, right? Because one big IP takes at least 8 GB of memory and at least 2 CPU core or 4 CPU cores. And then you have got another routers and then other systems as well, right? So that's that. Okay.
So about this lab, everyone will get access to this lab, or
Everyone would get the access to this lab. Yes, the online labs.
And the diagram is
Saru?
the one. Sorry, yeah. The one that we are looking at right now, it's cut, it's truncated. I mean, we don't see it. This is made. This is not Visio, is it? Visio or what is it?
It's
Or is
not
it just?
Visio.
Is it online?
It's online.
Yeah, it is not visual, Dinesh.
EV2.
Saurav, can we set up this lab in our machine, like in a server? What is the configuration?
That's what I'm saying. You can set this up. It's just that you need to have the hardware resources available on your machine. This is it, right? I will keep it short today. Even I'm not really well, like, but I wanted to take this session. I don't want like you feel that okay, trainer is not available or so. But I was not well today morning. But I thought of okay, let's have this session at least for an hour. So tomorrow I'll come online at same time 8 a.m. and we'll be taking your session for complete purpose, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So if nobody has any more questions, do let me know.
Saurabh, just last thing, like, is the F5 the leading in the load balancer, or is it,
Exactly.
or is it have any other competitor?
There are so many competitors in the market, right? There are so many, like Citrix is there, and then Camp is there, and then
A10.
A10 is there, is right. So there are many. So, but again, when you look at the stability of the solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
The kind of stability F5 gives you, right?
Okay.
The kind of support that F5 gives you as compared to any other vendor, right? So that's the reason that it is still on top.
Okay.